I'm at Mr. Phil Strick, at Mr. Phil Strickland or Mr. Phil Strick Comedy. Most times I'm on Instagram and social media. Being the father of two daughters who at the beginning, of the internet and all that other stuff. I mean, they went from, hey dad, put on DisneyChannel.com to, hey, what the heck? What's dad, that's my friend over here, and I know this person over there. And I said, look, I need to understand how this social media and stuff work, because this is dangerous out here. Well, as I'm looking at it and learning that as my kids were growing up, now they're what, 20, 24 and 26 years old, and both of them married, and the best kids is the grown ones that's living out there on their own, paying their own bills. Hallelujah to that. But I was sitting out there with my wife, who's a travel nurse, and me being, the fireman. But it seems like I'm more used for my Band-Aid pass out skills as a paramedic. And, I've been a paramedic for the past 26, 27 years. But in traveling and doing all the different things we're doing, and then with the pandemic, you learned how to actually communicate and do things remotely and stuff. Well, I was always trying to be encouraging, try to be part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem. Anybody can complain about stuff, but as I learned and being a part of social media and keeping an eye on my kids as they was growing up and doing things, I said, this is pretty good. And I would say things, people would crack up and be like, hey, that's good, and you do it in a good way. I was like, yeah. And they're like, you do it without cussing. I was like, well, I've been known to say the N word every now and again, but that's a family thing. That's a family thing. Look here. And then, it was kind of like that. You don't say that out for just everybody. That's just family. But anyway, as we sat back and I started learning more and more of social media and how it worked, I said, this is a good way to spread some love and help people, be encouraged in whatever it is that they're doing. Next thing I know, people were like, hey, you know what? We want you to come out here and speak at this and speak at that. And once they started laughing and all, I said, well, wait a minute. We might have something here. It's not so much about the jokes, but it is about those real heavy situations and being able to hold those as a first responder and the different things that I do. So how I list myself is, hey, this is Mr. Phil Strickland. I'm a nationwide traveling volunteer fireman, comedian, event planner. And hey, if you want to laugh and bring some good wholesome jokes and stuff to your situation, let me be there. I'll see if I can collect the local entertainment and stuff, because although it's like, hey, well, who's going to be at our event and speaking, who's going to be the comedians there and all that, I'm like, look, this is like the drug world. They're like, oh, what you mean? I said, you can't just go out there and just pick anybody and stuff. You need someone to help you look and actually vet these different things. And that's what I do. And through our company of MPSC Entertainment LLC, we're able to actually give folks what it is they want. I'm like, you want what you want? You want church? You want kind of PG-13 Disney, or PG-13, like Fast and Furious, or you looking for some extra stuff? That's not, I can't do that, but I know a couple of folks who can, and we can at least still keep them where they need to be based on whatever you want your bachelor's party to be, or bachelorette, for example, and stuff. So that's the long but short idea of what has happened and how I've arrived at this spot from, I think it's been almost 20 years now of sitting back and saying, hey, are you feeling okay? Is you all right? I know I'm here. You're in a car accident. You don't know what's going on, but I'm the guy who's here to help you. Mr. Phil Strickland. They're like, oh, so anyway, you learn how to put a lot of that stuff together and just, help people smile, or at least calm them down and disarm them. I'm like, well, if I can calm them down, maybe I could actually help them feel better about their situation or whatever, that's going on from an emergency standpoint, as well as from a party standpoint. And then, hey, this is what it is, man. Hey, I'm talking about trying to take care of things. So that's where I'm at with that, man. So hopefully, is that enough of an answer for what it is that's going on with this guy sitting right here?
Absolutely. That's a wonderful answer. And
Thank you.
Will, thank you so much for that introduction. So what I want to do now today is really kind of, although you have, want to dive into who you really are as Phil, and Phil the comedian, and then Phil the fireman. And so you talk about something which is clean comedy. A lot of people don't know what this is. I've never heard of the term at all until I met you. I want you to sort of tell me and tell our listeners what clean comedy is.
Well, you know what? That's an interesting question. At a lot of the different clubs and whatnot that I would go to. Matter of fact, let me back it up just a little bit. In
Okay.
dealing with first responder things and the different things that we would see in the 911 settings and all, there was really heavy stuff that you had to deal with. You know, if you know, people losing their loved ones, you know, child abuse, you know, people in burn situations and bad car accidents, and just different heavy things that you had to look at and still figure out, you know, how am I going to handle this, you know, and how am I going to lead, you know, my team in those situations, or just be part of the team if I'm not leading. How am I going to be part of the team in making that happen? A lot of the times we're in mixed company. There's you know, you can say things one way, you can say them another. You don't want to get folks in trouble. There's a lot of different things that you had to do, and so you really got to, you know, pick out and be specific on how you talk about things. My mother was a radio news host, and for a long time, and she would talk to the community and stuff. And I'm in elementary school barely, and she had been doing all that when we were in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Being a military, we were a military family. My father was a pilot in the Marines, and that was after an illustrious career with the Ohio State Buckeye football team back in the late 60s, early 70s, and all. So, you know, there was a lot of you know, manners and how you would, you know, present yourself, and, you know, all that sort of thing. Me being the oldest of three, you know, a lot of that falls to me to do what needs to be done. But what I learned to do was actually sit down and try to talk to folks in a way to where they were comfortable, and you could, again, disarm them and, you know, help them feel a little bit better about whatever it was that was going on. What I realized was, in seeing these different emergency situations, we would have what was called a stress debriefing, kind of a thing where we all sit down and kind of talk about our feelings and what we saw, and you know, how we could help one another. And most firefighters are, you know, I don't need no help. I'm good. But they look at me and be like, Strick, you and your communication skills. A lot of times they would have me talk. They're like, just let Phil talk to him. Hey, Phil, can you help out? Hey, Phil, can you show the fire truck to all the kids at the school? I mean, Phil, can you, you know, that kind of thing. But as we would do these stress debriefings and all, and talking to the counselors or whoever was administrating it, I wound up getting the idea of, we had a particularly tough situation, which I won't get into, but and talking to the counselor, and over time, I remember the counselor saying, you know, I know you have to hold some heavy stuff, and my teenage daughters were definitely exercising all my fatherly skills, but he said, you do it in a way to where we're supposed to be taking this serious, and you're having us cracking up and stuff as you're saying these different things. And he said, you seem to feel better when you communicate, when you can connect with whoever it is that you're talking to. And I said, yeah. He said, why don't you try getting on stage and do? And I'm thinking, I'm not the typical, you know, that's not me. That's not me. He said, no. Just in how you tell the stories and put them all together, and what your reaction was, and what went right, what went wrong, and all the different things, you really help to include the folks in. So it's more of an amusing story with a point at the end of, hey, we're all human. We're trying to get this thing done, and we don't have to do it in a negative way. We don't have to be, you know, this, that, and cussing, and all. We don't got to do all that and stuff. Let's just talk to the people and help them actually, you know, feel better about themselves, because together we can achieve more. Clean comedian, let's use our regular conversative tones. Let's use our regular conversative words and stuff. We don't got to put in all the extra stuff in the sentence enhancers if it's not necessary. And it got to the point where when I was in these bars or these comedy clubs and that sort of thing, or I'm in these lineups with these other comedians, even the host would be like, all right, y'all, watch yourself. We don't want to have the F word, Phil. We know we're talking about you, and everybody laugh and stuff, but they're like, Phil don't never say nothing about that, but he will tell you something where you're like, oh my gosh. And then what happened? There was bugs crawling out of the guy's feet. Oh no, you know, it's more like that. They were more surprised with the different stories and stuff. And I realized it's not hard for me to actually sit back and just, again, connect with whoever the audience is based on what it is they're want to hear, or whatever the objective is, without using all the extra stuff that we don't necessarily want our kids to hear. I wanted to be able to have an audience that actually even included kids, and mostly the teenagers and stuff, leading by example and that sort of thing. Yeah. I would tell my kids, and this is the last thing I would tell my kids, Dad, what words can we say when they're growing up? What words can we say? Can we say some cuss words if we mad? I said, I tell you what, you can say anything you hear me say. And they was like, oh yeah. And then they realized, you don't say nothing. You don't say no cuss words. I was like, yep, that's right. Use your mind. You can come up with a different way to say things. So there's a long, short answer of how that is when it comes to being the clean comedian and where the motivation and stuff comes from.
Right. Because you know what? I think you've answered my next question, which was going to be, how do you actually come up with the material and if it was difficult? But it sounds like you actually got it all in hand. So what I really want to now know is, you talk about being in these comedy lineups, right? So you all remember Def Comedy Jam and Cedric the Entertainer, and good old Steve Harvey.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Jamie Foxx, for instance. We even Kevin Hart. So we have some really good people that have come through these shows, Showtime at the Apollo, etc.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I want to know what yours is like. Tell me about this for a comedian or an upcoming aspiring comedian. It would be good for them to hear from your side.
Well, you know what? They always say, hey, talk about what you know. And one of the things that has seemed to work well as of just recently is the pandemic talk. And again, I said, my lovely wife, she's like, I live with you. I know these stories and that sort of thing. I'm like, baby, it's for the audience. She's like, okay, all right, go on. But as we talked about when the pandemic came in, with the way my schedule worked, I had to figure out how to still entertain in these tough times and that sort of thing, and going to these different places. I, as a fireman, you normally would work 24 hours on and 48 hours off. And because of that, it requires you to actually stay in one spot. So if there's not an emergency going on, which 80% of the time there's not, you're just in the fire station. You've done all your training. You've done all the things you're supposed to do with your checkouts and all that stuff. The chief has talked to you about whatever it is the objective is for, that week and that sort of thing. But then you're on downtime, and they really kind of, it's not about, well, dang, you get paid to do nothing. No, you get paid to stay ready. You get paid to be ready. So if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, was one of the main things I would say, especially to the young guys. But most times we're walking around the station holding a cup of coffee, kicking tires and talking. So how things going with your family? Do you know how to operate this air pack? Do you know the proper pump pressure to run this engine so we can get the water that we need so nobody comes out burnt up like a piece of chicken, that kind of thing. And, as you're sitting there going through those different things, we wound up situating ourselves with different stories that we had a tendency to repeat, and then you would, hey, Strick, tell the story about, and so that's kind of how we would do it. But going back to the pandemic, I had a banking. There was a banking association most recently, and they said, we know you're not in the banking, but can you tell us something, because it could be kind of dry. I said, I got you. So what I went with was, I said, I was only able to visit my wife 1 week out of each month because of how my fire schedule and stuff would wind up working and stuff for a couple of years. It was like that, and she's doing travel nursing and stuff, and I'm home trying to make sure I'm available and stuff for the kids. And we had our plan, and that's kind of what we were trying to do. But man, that pandemic hit. We happened to be in Little Rock, Arkansas and stuff. I didn't know nothing about Little Rock, so what I wound up doing was going on the internet trying to figure out what was happening. And I realized if I came up with stories for the different places that we were, that okay, that might make it good, and I could either stretch them out or shrink them down. So the pandemic hits, it's March of 2020, boom, we're in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm visiting with my wife down there, and I'm realizing they're pulling everybody off the roads. Everybody's got to stay in. We're on lockdown. People are getting upset about not having Popeye's chicken sandwiches and all kinds of different things. Folks is upset. Folks is upset. And from so we're from there, and then we wound up being able to move around because we're medical, and I had a good amount of time that I could take off and stuff. So I said, all right, I'm gonna start taking some time off. So we go up from Little Rock, Arkansas, up to Chicago. So she does a couple of weeks in Chicago. I have we have a dog with us most times and stuff because the dogs are just, I mean, they're better than ADT. We've been using them things for a long time, but we got a dog named Blueberries. She's with us, kind of a black lab retriever, and all, great doorbell and all that stuff. But we go up there to the Windy City and we see about that, and I'm going back and forth on the Amtrak train and stuff, trying to get where I need to be, and everything is just super quiet because, again, we're in the pandemic and everything is locked down. You know, folks are upset and you're trying to calm them down. And as I went through the different cities and places that we went in this Oregon mortgage banker gig, we sat back and they're like, oh, okay. You know, I'm talking about, hey, we come down to North Carolina and then we go down to Miami, Florida for a contract she has down there. And the great thing about that is she's got her sisters down there, and her sisters are like, hey, we have alcohol in the morning. I'm like, alcohol in the morning? What are you talking about? They're like, yeah, it's called a mimosa. I'm like, well, it's been a long pandemic. Let me have one of them. And stuff, man. so we, we learned these different things going across the country. And from Miami, we wound up in Oklahoma. And Oklahoma had a whole different vibe because it was right around the 2020 election. It was just a lot. I'm seeing a lot of flags flying, all these different things. And I'm just like, man. But as you put all those things together, and you're in these different parts of the country that have different political views, and just there's Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of big topics you would have to hold on to. I would every week practice at as long as it was open in that particular state, because some states had comedy clubs that were open, some didn't. But I would every week go to these open mics, and I would do my 4 or 5 minutes with the other comedians and stuff, and come up with, whatever it was. And a lot of it was, they just know from their particular point of view where they live. But having this military brat, first responder guy who's a dad trying to lead by example and do the right thing, come in and speak to him for 5 minutes on whatever, like I said, talking about what man, it sure does seem to be entertaining to the folks in and around. And I would learn different things about their city and all that. One of the best things I learned, which I need to go see, is a barber. For a Black man, your barber is your best friend, because you find yourself a barber, you hit the ground running, because they know what's happening both above and below board, you know what I'm saying, of what's going on in the community. Go over there, that's a good place. Don't go over there, you ain't gonna have no car no more. All right, bet. I appreciate you telling me. Here's an extra tip. Thank you for making me look good and stuff. So there was always something to talk about and stuff. That's kind of how I frame things just to begin with. So
you know what? That's so much. That's great insight. I was fortunate to meet one of our British comedians years ago. Blackwood. It's funny as ever. Yeah. With quite a few. Gina Yashure, and I used to go to the shows back home. I'm in Scottsdale now, so slightly different. It's 38 degrees, or will be soon. And there ain't no comedy clubs, or at least the ones that are, like, in your words, popping, as they should be.
Yes.
So, for a young aspiring comedian, or even anyone who wants to get into it, what you're saying is, don't be afraid. The door's always open. Hit the open mic, because they still are available. I didn't even right? It's open mic or speakeasy. Tell your story, and don't worry about offending anybody, as long as you keep it clean, right?
Yeah, well, from where I'm coming from now, some of these jokers, hey, it's as many F words and all kinds of stuff they can put in there. I thought that watching TV late at night, that was rated R was bad. No. Some of these open mics you ain't supposed to be going to. I had my mother, my mother-in-law, some of their friends at one, they were coming to see me. This was in and around Columbus, Ohio, which is where I'm at now.
Oh, you're in Columbus? I didn't ask.
Yeah, I'm in Columbus now. Right. Yeah, I'm in Columbus now.
So we're going to be there soon, right?
Man, you better say something, man. I can drink a cup of coffee.
We already booked you. She just didn't tell you.
All right. These different ones on Facebook with the open mics and all. As I formed that network of knowing these different folks and friending them in these different cities, what I realized is that was beneficial as these different private parties would come up and stuff, and folks were like, "Hey, we want someone to speak at our father's birthday party or pastor's appreciation, or I just got one in Texas, Rolling Rock, Texas, which is along the Amtrak route, because I like to ride the train. I like to have the internet, ride the train, be close to the ground, and be able to just think, get up and move, all that kind of thing. Yeah. And so I got one there. So usually what I'll do is I'll fly from one major airport to the other, and then just take the train route, and then make sure I set up my gigs in and along those, as well as be able to visit family and friends and that sort of thing. But with it being on Facebook and us being networked together as comedians, I'm able to reach out and grab the local ones and say, "Hey, do you know someone close to Rolling Rock? I'm gonna be there on such and such time," and have them send me a clip of what it is they do, and maybe I could give them a few minutes and stuff. And that's what these private parties seem to really appreciate and stuff. They're just like, "Hey, come on in," and then it's its own private show, and then other people want to do it, not realizing, I don't just have to hire a clown for my kids. It's like, no, you can actually hire a whole comedian set group with DJ and everything complete. It's how we do it. And, we run it as an hour and a half show. And then we're right out of your hair, and everybody's laughing. And we're like, all right, see you later. We'll make you the MVP of the whole evening and stuff. Man, that was great. You putting on a comedy show right in your own backyard. And it's kind of a nice thing. You got to be careful. You can't be imbibing too much. Here, have another, because you still got to be able to concentrate. You don't want to do that. But you know what I'm saying.
I do. So you basically go in like Belle, Div, DeVoe, or a 112, and you guys with the music and the whole shebang. So literally, we book Phil and that's it type of thing. The party is the party. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, Mr. Phil, what can you bring us? I'm like, hey, not only will I bring me, but I'll bring 2 or 3 other comedians as well as the DJ. And then we'll even talk to the comedians and be like, hey, what song do you want to go up on? Yeah. We'll have the DJ kind of watch the comedian close, and that's when it really vibes. When the DJ's watching that close and can bring up the music and bring it down and stuff, and kind of like the same vibe of a choir director at a church, like at TD Jakes and stuff. He started going there.
He's good.
That's what I'm talking about. So it works out pretty good.
Nice. So you got me thinking. You really got me thinking. So it's like a House Party, if you remember that movie.
Yes.
Which they've done a new version.
It can be. It can be. Now you got to have. Now, the one thing is, you got to have the people close enough to where they're almost a little afraid that you're going to call on them and stuff. And that little bit of respect, let's say, that's when you can rope them right in and stuff. And you're sitting there talking to them. And back at the mortgage banker thing, I noticed a couple of them were kind of, they're kind of a little stiff and all that stuff. And I said, hey, you know what? If anybody's in a accident or something, you got to understand, you don't never know who you're going to run into. These medics and firefighters and all these different first responders out there, we think different. And right about now, if something happens here, you're going to be seeing my face and stuff. And they're like, and I'm like, I know you know what I'm talking about as you get your pay raise and buy your next Lamborghini with all that jewels and stuff you got on. I understand bling. And, it's just really kind of the crowd work and bringing the folks in. And once they're brought in, it just rolls and just follows itself, and it just winds up making it easy. They almost start pulling it out of you as you're sitting there and looking at different hairstyles and different attitudes. And sir, I know you're going to be in trouble tonight, man. Please give him a credit. He's really trying to enjoy himself with you tonight. That kind of thing. And as you can get these people to be like, man, it ain't so bad, and just smile for just a little bit. That ain't something you can buy off the shelves at Walmart. That ain't how that works. No, you got to have someone who can actually pull that out.
Yeah. Even when you was in Arkansas, you couldn't buy it in Walmart, right?
Bro, no, yeah. Even in Arkansas, you couldn't do it. So, correct. I think the most interesting place that I was at was in Portland, Oregon, because I realized that they treat their dogs like, not to be offensive, but like sacred cows, man. The dog parks are beautiful and stuff. The kids parks are okay, but the dog parks are beautiful. So I'm thinking, So y'all love your dogs and stuff. And they're like, yeah, we like them. Plus, we put shock collars on them. They frown on that. I'm putting it on kids. I'm like, yeah, that may change. Who knows? We'll see. But Portland, Oregon was nice. They love their dogs there. And I was like, hey, I'm a dog person, so that works out nice.
Yeah, they love their dogs out here too. I mean, they got they got swimming pool for their dogs here.
Come on, man. I'm like, again, if it's man's best friend, then show me. And I guess that's what they're doing. So that's good.
Yeah. I've got 3 questions for you, right? Before you go. 3 questions. Yes. Tell me about your clientele. I mean, you've mentioned the bank, but and I know you do some house party type, but
yes.
What is your ideal kind of like show? Tell me.
Listen, my ideal clientele, and they're the ones that really seem to appreciate. It's the moms, the moms, the older moms and stuff. They got older kids, that sort of thing. They can kind of vibe with what I'm saying. Almost Gen X, if you will, maybe even the baby boomers and all, because they seem to appreciate the manners. They appreciate, how I handle the situation and stuff. I'll ask them, I'm like, okay, what is it that you want? Are there people marked in the crowd that I can, kind of talk to without, getting them, too upset and stuff? And oh no, I got exactly. And those moms are the heartbeats of the family. And although, you got the dads or the men, I'm the head of the house and stuff. Yeah, but the heartbeat is the mother, is the matriarch and stuff. And so, so in talking to them, a lot of times when I'm talking to my entertainers, be it, even if it's a small band as opposed to a DJ, sometimes we'll have a small band that will actually hire locally to come on and do whatever. Hey, they want jazz or they want country music or, whatever it is. The band, I'll let them know that, hey, the mom, the heartbeat, this matriarch right here is the one who's paying us. All right. So we need to do everything according to her rules. Because guess what? If it don't come out right, I'm giving her double her money back. And you know how many times I've done that? 0. All right. So get it right. I ain't playing with you. Now, if I come back here, because a lot of times the friends and stuff would they want to be in these matriarchs want to be in the walking billboards for you and stuff. They're like, Phil, thank you. I wasn't sure how I was going to make my husband's surprise party something that he would really enjoy. But as we're waiting, because this is one of the other recent ones we had, the wife was waiting for her husband to arrive. He was kind of, he's busy. He's doing a lot of things. He's raising, they got boys and stuff that they're raising and all kind of stuff. And all these people at their house that he knows or they know together. She's like, I just need some way to kind of entertain these folks, more than just music, more than just, alcohol and snacks and all that stuff. What can we use? And I'm like, don't even worry about it. So me and one of my comedy buddies, this guy that goes by the name of Deacon Island, Eric Island out of Portland, great buddy, great guy. He was like, Phil, I got that show with you. I was like, all right, cool. So we went and we did this show, and before the husband even got there, we had the people all kind of vibing together. And again, it was just a small little, I don't think there was more than maybe 12, 15 people there. And that is when you can really make it happen and stuff, because you have a chance to be, to really connect with each and every person and stuff. And they're kind of nervous and people don't know each other. And then you kind of help them all get along. The last thing, I'm actually finishing up the onboarding process for getting my, I don't think I could pick a better job, but the Ohio State University, which is where my dad played football. Don't get me started. That he gave me.
Hey, you got the ring,
man. He gave me his 1970 national championship ring.
1970,
bro.
man.
So, yeah. So I'm proud. But so I went over to Ohio State, and they're gonna hire me on as a paramedic in the ER. And I thought, I've been volunteering, doing all that stuff, and they're like, hey, you get free school, you get great health care. We're happy to have you. Here's this benefits package, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm thinking, this is great. And all based on the fact that people do not like to feel pain if they don't have to. So I said, this is going to be right in my wheelhouse, being right here. But with our family members, and we have a lot in Columbus and everyone's getting older, I said, what better place to be? If money wasn't an issue, where would you go? And I'm like, I work at that hospital. I work at Ohio State at my dad's and mom's old alma mater, and I would do that. And I'm telling you what, it's really working out good. But in being a part of those the different people that have these parties that are the heartbeats of their family and trying to get it going. They want to be in walking billboards, and then they find out what you do and how you help folks, and then what happened to the little kid? You know, I was like, oh, then we got the game piece out of the baby's throat. The baby starts crying, and then the baby wipe the baby's eyes. You're okay, give him a little bit of oxygen, and then we're like, hey, next thing you know, we're playing games with the baby and stuff. And you know, the baby's happy, but who's really happy is the mama. You just saved my kid. You know, and when you put all those kind of different stories together, man, that pulls on the heartstrings every single time. But in a good way is how we try to put it when it comes to the comedy. So everybody in the end is like, man, he told us to be good to each other. Let's try it. Let's actually be good to each other. Hey, that's the whole overall objective when it comes to my comedy. That's how we work it.
Before I move on to my next question, I just want to let everybody that does get a chance to watch this understand that what Phil has on his ear right now is an earpiece, and he's not a transformer.
I got to hear you. I got to hear you.
Most people that haven't seen one of these before, it's called an earpiece.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it came just after the flip phone.
That's okay.
Right.
Don't be alarmed.
Exactly. So there you go. It's pretty normal.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Glad I made you laugh. Hey.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So we talk about all of these cool things that you have done and are still doing.
Yes, sir.
What's on the tip of my tongue is you got so much knowledge, so much talent, that are you actually planning on educating any of these Gen Zs and, you know, even maybe anyone in the skill sets that you have, maybe creating a course for becoming a comedian, or how to volunteer as a firefighter, or, you know, become a paramedic? I mean, what is the next steps for you?
Man, I tell you what, there's a lot in that question and stuff. Usually with wherever I'm at, I'm looking at it as, hey, what can I do to help? You know, that's one of the things that I try to start the day off with is you know, I've run a men's group for I think since 2009, and again with the pandemic and all that stuff, we wound up having to go virtual and stuff, and a lot of those guys are older than me. And hold on, let me turn that. I'm so sorry. Let me get that right. Turn that right off. There we go. So a lot of these guys are they are not savvy when it comes to Zoom who, let's just go slow and all that stuff, you know. Yeah. Google Meet, we just talk to me regular and all that stuff. And there's even an app that we use called Marco Polo and stuff, where you can speed up the app and put it in double time and all that sort of thing. And they laugh at me. They're like, Phil, you don't be listening to me in double time. I'm like, yeah, I do, because goodness, you take 15 seconds and something that could be said in 5, I'm ready to make this thing happen for 7.5 if you're doing double time. So I'm in trying to actually help these folks, help all of us and stuff, friends, whatever circles we travel in. I notice a lot of times it's leading by example and stuff. It's encouraging, and in the if we're looking at just my dad, for example, he is a part of our men's group, and he's for years, and then he's like, you know what? This is pretty good, son. I'm glad you brought me into this. Now, how do I working on what am I supposed to, how am I? And I'm like, Dad, don't worry. We'll learn it together. And a lot of the guys like that and stuff, that, you know, hey, patience is one of the virtues. One of the things that we say in our men's group is, if you ain't showing patience, you know, grace, you know, if you're long suffering, you know, if you ain't being good to folks and all that, that's usually something that's saying you're a little too far from the vine. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm like, hey, you need to get back in there and get some Bible study or something done. But when it comes to instructing and helping others, a lot of it is, hey, if you want to listen, almost like the Mr. Miyagi kind of deal. If you're going to be here, you know, you might accidentally wind up shining up a couple of cars. You might accidentally wind up learning some different techniques that don't seem like they connect. But as time goes on, as you see how it all kind of comes together, you're like, oh man, I'm actually part of something that's good, and it's a blessing to others. You know, there's other people that are attaching themselves to my train, if you will, to my locomotive, and not that it's mine, but this is my part. This is the position that I play on this team. And I may not be as strong or as fast or as accurate as you are if we're using football terms and stuff, but I can still play my position. You can still play your position, and together we can win on something. And so that's kind of more, how I look at it as if you standing there long enough, I'll show you something. But hey, if you don't, if you ain't willing to put in the time, then I'm out on that and stuff. My last thing, my son-in-law, he came up to visit us in Portland, and him and my eldest came to Portland, and I brought him over to the volunteer fire department, and he was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I said, hey, none of us really know what's going on and stuff. You've been doing it for over 25 years. I said, yeah, but each emergency is always something that's different and stuff. With that being the case, you just have to be willing to put the gloves on and say, hey, I'm here. What can I do to help? What can I do to help? And as long as you have that attitude and you're teachable, you'll be fine. Shoot, next thing I know, he's getting certified, and he's like, thanks, father-in-law. I appreciate you. I'm glad you showed me this and stuff. And he went ahead and took his talents elsewhere and went on about his business, and has the opportunity to go be a part of another department and stuff, just for one example and stuff. A lot of times it's just the encouragement that people are looking for. And I guess I'm just like the mouse in the Disney movie Dumbo and stuff. Dumbo got the ears. I'm just sitting there saying, you can fly, that kind of thing. So
yeah. And then that's really, it's really beautiful how you've put it, because even in our team, and I think you connected with Jeanette, and in our team we have a saying, and I take it from the British rowing team, and they always lost. It's similar to the USA going to the World Cup. You might as well don't buy a ticket. Did I say that?
Hey, truth hurts sometimes. The truth hurts.
Listen, actually, the USA football team did really well this World Cup. Each time you guys come to a tournament, you just get better and better. And I actually watching them play in real truth. But so we take it from the British rowing team, and it's really simple. When they wanted to win the Olympics, they said to themselves, "Hey, what have we done over these period of times that hasn't gotten us anywhere?" So they decided to have a checklist, and they would ask themselves one question. If we go out and have beer, would it make the boat go faster? No, we don't have beer. If we see our wives, would it make the boat go faster? No. And that year, they won and also set a world record.
See?
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Only doing what works.
Right. And so what you're saying here is literally what I say is, in our business, in our team, and in all structures, let's all get in the boat together and let's all row in one direction. And if we can row together, we win together. Period.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yes, that will preach right there. Pass the plate, because that will preach. That's good.
Read the
that's
Bible.
Good.
So I mean, I like, the energy that you've come across on the show. I think everybody that's going to watch this is going to love it. Unfortunately, you didn't tell us any jokes yet, so we're going to try and come out of you. And literally, we also want to know how we can connect with you. Because people do want to book you, of course, right?
Yes, absolutely. I do most of my connections through Linktree. Linktree, Mr. Phil Strick Comedy. So MRPHILSTRICK.
Yep.
Comedy. COMEDY. So right from there, that'll link you right to for booking events and for meetings, and a lot of it is really just trying to give the folks what they want. I say, hey, what is it? I ask them, okay, where is it going to be? What time? What's your vibe? Do we need decorations? Do we need all that stuff? And trying to actually just book out as a comedy, I realized that I was slowly becoming an event planner also. And as all that stuff started rolling along, I'm like, okay, well, if we do this here and we have this there and we put it in this kind of city and do that, then you guys should be able to get everything you want. Well, we also want daycare also. Okay, well, let's figure something else out with that and stuff. But usually, I mean, come on, we have a computer in our pocket that connects to the whole world. So I'm thinking, I'm just going to treat it like Batman. I got something for that. I got an idea. We can maybe make something happen and stuff. So Linktree at Mr. Phil Strick Comedy. the best way to reach me and stuff and see what's going on with me and my team. And we'd be happy to have you. That's not a problem. When it comes to the you were saying about the stories, I'll tell you I'll tell you my first one. I'll tell you my first story that I ever came across, and it had to do with when we would take the kids to the movies and stuff. Now nowadays, everyone streams all their movies and all that stuff, but in the earlier times, before the turn of the century, that makes it sound like it was a long time ago, but before the turn of the century, we had little girls, and we would pack them all up like little pack mules and be like, hey, put this in your jacket and stuff like this, Dad. I'm like, yeah, don't say nothing, just put it in there. The gummy bears, yeah, put the gummy bears in, but shh, be quiet. And the blow pops. Okay, Dad, I'm being quiet. Shh, don't say anything. Just walk normal and stuff. And they do. I'm like normaler, and we had these their jackets is all puppied up and all that stuff with all the stuff they got. And me and my wife were walking in, and she, thinking I'm making too much of it and stuff. And I'm like, look, these kids is half my DNA. I know how they thinking. I need to help them be prepared so they don't mess us up and get us pinched before we even get in to see the movie Shrek. So, so we would go in, and I remember the folks at the desk, they, at the thing, you want some popcorn, mister? It's like, yeah, can't spot. You want butter on it? Maybe just a little bit of butter. You want something to drink with that family size popcorn? No, I'm good. And then the guy looking at me, I'm looking at the guy, he looking at the kids, and they all in their jackets all big and sweating. And sir, your kids look big and you look little and stuff. You're not taking any contraband in there, are you? I'm like, no. Matter of fact, don't even worry about that. Well, you're probably going to be thirsty with this popcorn. No, don't worry about it. As I got Sprites in my jacket and all that stuff, look like I'm making that wasn't it. No, I'm like, hey, just mind your business. My kids have a glandular issue. You don't want to talk about that. Leave them alone. And anyway, it's just one of those things. And putting all those different kind of stories and pulling it out. And has anybody used their kids as pack mules at the movie theater? Because I have, but I can't get them to be quiet. Imagine that. And then they laugh and we go from there. And hey, I appreciate you guys coming out. I appreciate you guys listening at Mr. Phil Strick Comedy. I'm here to just tell you what's happening in my life. Y'all my therapy. And then ending a show like that, like I said, if it brings a smile, then mission accomplished. That's how I look at it.
Fantastic. Now, I've been smiling all the way through. So as you opened up, just close it off for me, please.
Hey, I just appreciate being here. I appreciate you giving me some time. I'm in my dad's trophy room right now that my mom put together for him and stuff. So he got all his Buckeye stuff and his when he was a pilot and all that. So I was like, Pop, I'm gonna do my interview in your trophy room and all that stuff. He was like, go on, make sure you keep it how you found it. I'm like, yes, sir, I will, because hey, I still respect my family. That's how we got to do that and stuff. Exactly. There's a lot of folks that have worked very hard to make it so we can be who it is that we are today. And I'm like, hey, I'm trying to do the same thing for my kids and my kids' kids and everybody else. I was talking to my brother the other day, and he said, I said, man, being a good dad is raising your kids on purpose, bro. Being a great dad is helping others raise theirs. And he's like, that's pretty good. You got me on that one, bro. I was like, I say thanks. I'm glad you had me on here, Cameron. I'm glad you had me on here.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad we finally made it. I almost did this interview, and obviously it's done now, but thank you, Phil.
Yes, sir.
But I almost did this interview in the back of my Uber. Almost.
Ooh, wow.
Almost did it. And then it was just like, you rearranged. So that was like a touch because, man, British Airways. I mean, and I'll tell you something funny. I came into Phoenix a couple of days ago, and there was an issue with my seat, so they had to fix the manually recline the seat and so I lost my studio headphones. Down to Phoenix Airport twice.
Yeah,
they're telling me no one's handed it in.
Headphones are a nice commodity nowadays. I'm telling you what, I've lost a set just recently my own self, and I know how you feel because it sure don't look like people's turning them in.
They're burning me real bad right now, real bad.
Stay calm, bro. We call that you either win or learn. So it sounds like you didn't win, so you definitely learning.
Man, I'm learning to put I'm learning to go back to the ones the ones that you can actually track, which is the white ones. Because
Yes.
those ones there, you can just turn, I can knock on your door and I'll be like, give me my headphones.
Right here's where I need them. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, man, this has been really good. So, I mean, I don't know how much you know about, myself or what I'm trying to do, or because Jeanette said, hey, you just booked her or reached out to her, or she was talking to you.
Yeah.
I don't really know the connection, but I'm glad obviously we've connected. But I don't know if she told you about Swiftly or what we're trying to do. Did she tell you?
No, please brief me. Please brief me.
Okay. So I launched and I actually wanted to ask you this question, which
Yes.
is do you use technology for your bookings? That was something I really just wanted to ask you anyway. We didn't get that, but do you use technology for your bookings other than Linktree? Do you have an app or a platform or a system, or you just kind of Google Linktree and that sort of thing?
Oh, you know what? When I initially started, again with excuse me, being on social media and stuff,
Mm.
and trying to learn the different things,
Mm.
I initially went with Instagram at Mr. Phil Strick Comedy, and
Okay.
and I still have that up there. So Instagram at Mr. Phil Strick Comedy is
Mm.
where you can find me. But the reason I did it that way is when they would announce me, they're like, hey, what's your name as you're going up on stage at these different open mics? Because that's how I got my practice and
Yeah.
stuff. I would go to the open mics and then
Yeah.
talk about whatever call or emergency had happened, and then put what the point was at the end to try to help everybody be better and everybody be nicer. So again, that was the overall objective as I was talking to the folks. But who are you, Mr. Who? I said Instagrams at Mr. Phil Strick Comedies. All that? Yeah, all that. Why? Because, hey, that helps people remember. And so they're like, dang it, that joker had the longest name with a social media attached to it and all that sort of thing. Next
Mm.
thing you know, it actually started benefiting because, the guys were like, and here's Instagrams at Mr. Phil Strick Comedy, that kind of thing. And so, I don't know, it seemed to work that way. So Instagrams at Mr. Phil Strick Comedy. You can also find me at Mr. Phil Stand Up Comedy on Facebook. I got a page on there. And that's how I kind of keep in contact with most of my comedy gangster friends and all that stuff to make sure we can be where we need to be when we need to be there. There are times that I'll have events that pop up that I can't make it to. Something will happen or whatever, and I couldn't make it to. So what I would do is I would vet out the entertainers and then dispatch them in place of me, and the clients would be like, oh, we're sorry, we don't get a chance to have you. And I'm like, hey, next time, and we'll have a discount, we'll make sure it's, hey, we're going to be okay. But
Right.
I would dispatch the other ones. And what wound up happening is a lot of the entertainers like, Phil, every time I hear from you, it's a blessing. Every time I hear from you, I'm standing inside your Jesus bubble and stuff because I'm about to get paid. I'm like, well, however you want to look at it, but hey, make sure you keep it under PG-13 Disney style. You hear me? They're like, we got you, Phil. We got you.
That's really good. That is really good. And we'll talk more offline in future about some stuff. But so we launched a 24-hour on-demand concierge app prior to the pandemic. Pandemic kind of squeezed the business. So I relaunched the company in North America. So how I met Jeanette 3 years ago working with her. So, as pandemic started, in summary, you let the whole entire team go and we rebuilt, and I'm fortunate to have her back. And she a blessing in disguise, as I call her.
Absolutely.
In many facets. So our platform will be launching in Ohio 1 July. I look up because the days are running quickly or quicker than we are. So it's either 1 July or 1 September. And so we'll be doing a launch event. And so someone said to me, hey, talk to Phil. Maybe we'll get Phil to come along and tell some jokes and whatever it be. But in essence, right, I launched the business 2019. This is way before Uber was doing, or DoorDash or Postmates was bringing your groceries to you. I was in London. I was that guy bringing your groceries to you in 2018, 2019, and people thought we were crazy, right?
Yeah.
So we launched the business fully, which was December 19, January 20, and then after beta, March, 4 days or 5 days before the pandemic. So I think it was March. It was like 13th, or I can even forget, 13th of March or 14th of March. We're like, right, all doors open. I got a fleet of 297. Boom, boom, boom. Everyone.
Nice.
And your president shuts the border.
Yes.
Planes stopped flying. I had no business, literally. All of a sudden, the big giants are now doing grocery shopping and all the things that we had put a lot of effort into doing.
Yes,
So
sir.
to give you an idea, so it wasn't something that I dreamed up, and there's history to back it, that I dreamed up after seeing Uber and DoorDash do it. We're doing your grocery shopping, 24-hour on-demand concierge services, period. So if Phil comes to my house or my Airbnb. So you're in Ohio right now. So let's say you fly into Scottsdale, you're here in this apart hotel, and you need some beer and some chips and some popcorn for the girls and whatever. It's 11 p.m. at night. You're coming in and everything's closed. We'll meet you right here. We'll bring you everything so you can watch a movie with the missus. Right.
Oh, that's good.
Right. Now your laundry. We'll pick up your laundry, get that done for you. But you forgot your toothbrush. Like I never fly with toothbrushes now. I never fly with toiletries because I know I can just pick them up. But hey, you forgot your toiletries. We'll bring something to your door for you. On top of that, hey, you got this parcel that needs to get to the UPS. So effectively, what we're trying to create and have created is this ecosystem where you can almost have your Jeffrey the butler, if you remember.
Yes.
I use that.
Yeah. From Fresh Prince. I'm with you.
Right. Do everything for you, just in your app. And you just pay a premium and we get it done for you. And so we've been going through sort of various renditions of technology updates because technology keeps moving. There's a soft launch here during the Super Bowl, but we're going to kind of like turn on the gas in Ohio, or wanting to turn on the gas this September. So just want to give you a little bit about me and what I'm about. But so the team were like, hey, you started a few businesses and so forth. You've been an entrepreneur, but no one really knows you. And I don't like to talk. I hate Instagram. I've been kicked off LinkedIn 100 times. But go out there, be subtle, talk to everybody and tell them what you do. And that's what got me doing this podcast. And I love to talk. I love to meet people and, just really connecting. I really love the fact that, you tell jokes, because I always say to my juniors, like, life is so serious that you can't take it seriously enough. Right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just be all uptight. I used to always have the suit and tie on and I mean, T-shirts and flip-flops is me now. Just let your hair down. Understand? Don't worry, that's fine. It is what it is. The pandemic has taught us a lot. All right, it's a lot, and just to appreciate life and what we have, and like you say, be purposeful. And that's the most meaningful thing that we can do as human beings. Doesn't matter where you're from, because what you put in is what you get out. Period.
Correct.
And so that's just about me. Swiftly is the platform. We're still working on doing things, but we're coming to Columbus and it's Cleveland and Columbus, right?
Cleveland is north and Columbus is right there. Yep, right there, centrally located. When I worked, I was up in Akron, Canton, so I was halfway between Cleveland and Columbus. But we got family and stuff all in the Buckeye State, which is called, guess what? The heart of it all. That's what Ohio is called, the heart of it all. So it's kind of funny. But go ahead.
So we're going to launch this platform. So people liken us to DoorDash, people liken us to Uber, and we're not that. We're something else. It's just run all your errands in your app, in your pocket, you pay whatever amount it is, we'll get it done for you. So it's not just about, and we experience it. I use these services all the time because I'm busy. You get your DoorDash and your chips are cold, or you get half a Popeye's chicken, or it doesn't turn up, that sort of thing. We don't have inventory, so we don't say, okay, you can order from Popeyes or Chick-fil-A or any of those. We say, Phil, what do you want? Where do you want it? When do you want it? 3 questions.
Yeah.
Make it happen. So you want Trader Joe's, and Trader Joe's doesn't partner with anybody, but we can go into Trader Joe's. So this is what we're trying to do. This is what I'm doing. And it's part of the reason why I'm doing the podcast, to meet a lot of people, but also in the end, be for us to, people know me, maybe like me, maybe evangelizing the product.
I like that. Hey, how might I be able to help with that? You let me know.
Just turn up to Ohio and tell some jokes. And really, when we launch, the most important thing is if we can get the message out there, customer validation, with your friends, your colleagues, family. I imagine, being a firefighter or even the IT guys, they don't get out much. Sometimes you do want a Chick-fil-A, but Chick-fil-A is too far from where you're at.
That's right.
We'll bring that to you.
I like that.
Traveling somewhere, traveling hand luggage only. It's what I'm trying to create here is literally luxury is affordable. Lifestyle is affordable, right? It's not something that you got to pay masses. And I've talked to the concierge providers, you know, some of them charge 80,000, 40,000 for a year just to do what we can do for a fraction of the cost. And if we can make it happen, not only do we kind of break the mold in the market in terms of we've gone away from the Uber kind of set menu, but we've also created opportunities for everybody that potentially couldn't have them, because we'll be paying our drivers and riders better. You know, you guys call them 401ks, we call them the insurances, but also we're providing the new type of way that people shop, which is not B2C, it's C2B. So Phil goes to the business and tells the business, this is what I want. And that's a whole new ecosystem, and it's an untapped market. So whatever you can do to support us as we grow, I'll be really appreciative of.
You know what? First thing, I wouldn't mind actually being actually consumer of that whole situation and stuff, because what I realized is with the hospital that I'll be working at, these are considered a level 1 hospital. I think the next one is up in Cleveland. There's no in between. A level 1 hospital is a hospital that does everything, and they teach, and they have students, and it's just a big city in and of itself and stuff. So this is really like my dream. Like I said, if money wasn't an issue, I'd be like, I'd rather work here and pass out band-aids here until I kick the bucket my own self. But they only have so many different things that they can that are available to them that they can get to and get back to their hospital, you know, spot, whether it's the ER or intensive care or whatever. And seeing as how I actually be in the system, I could see working that from the inside out. Like, hey, Phil, how did you get, let's say, Chick-fil-A, your clothes all did, all your stuff situated, and pick up a bouquet of flowers for your lady, you know, and get all that stuff delivered to you right when you were getting off shift or right on your break and all. And it's, hey, it's because, you know what, let me tell you about my friend, Mr. Black, and then go right on from there with his business and that sort of thing. So I think I could actually help out with that a lot. I look forward to seeing what you send me over so I can look at that at length and really study it and figure out how that might be able to benefit everybody and stuff. Because I know for me, just like I said, just from a customer standpoint, I'm like, that has promise. I like that a lot. So I look forward to moving on to the next step and taking a look at that. Like I said, if nothing else, at least as a client.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Would really appreciate that. And
yes,
I look forward to connecting with you. Let
me
go away, chop this up, create it into something nice for you.
Please.
I mean, I don't know. You've got a logo, haven't you? You do have a logo and all that kind of stuff, right? You do?
Yeah, always. But hey, a good idea is a good idea, and a friend's worth more than a dollar is what I like to say and stuff. And so I consider us friends, and this seems like a good idea. So thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Listen, we're going to connect and we're going to stay in touch. Like Jeanette did say, I don't know if she said this up because, like I said, she's like a miracle. She works wonders, you know. It's good to have an EA, like, and one that gets you. And, you know, I met her 3 years ago and I said to her, one day I'm going to launch my business in the United States. And a lot of people thought I was crazy even saying that. I called her one day and said, hey, Jeanette, guess what? We set up shop.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So you got to also speak it as well. You got to speak it.
I can't even remember. Forgive me. I can't even remember exactly how me and Jeanette connected, but I'm glad we did. So we both got to ask her, Jeanette, please fill in the timeline for what's going on. Because Phil's the type of guy that unless it's 911 and the bell's ringing right there, that brother's off to the next thing and stuff. So I'm right with you. We'll have to figure that out so we can put a funny story to it also.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Phil, look, let's stay in touch. I've got your number direct as well, your cell phone.
Please.
So I'll text you, vice versa. And let's take it.
Hey, man, thank you for being patient with me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to it.